Pentons and their local riders were a close-knit bunch who had been brought up a certain Midwestern way. But John Penton knew the riding pool stretched across the U.S., and he wanted the best to race for him and the U.S. Who cares what they looked like? He would find a diamond in the rough gold country of Northern California named Carl Cranke.
Carl Cranke was a real character, and he was considerably different background from the Penton family here in Midwestern upbringing.
He didn't take him seriously. Who's this guy?
He was a hippie from California with the long hair down the back.
My first meeting with John was a little bit rocky. Didn't quite fit that Midwestern mold.
I said, I didn't hire him. Ted hired him. Ted found him in California.
I lived in Ted's basement when I was there, you know. Yeah, I didn't get near John's house.
You know, we enjoyed being around Carl because he got away with all the stuff that you couldn't get away with if your name was on the tank.
The first time you ever meet Carl, you like Carl the rest of your life.
Just a wildcat. The wildcat I liked.
I like Carl. He was just carefree and crazy and an incredibly talented rider.
Carl Cranke could get on just about any motorcycle, and even if it wasn't set up correctly, he'd go pretty fast.
Carl would go ride a speedway Friday night and win the speedway against all the guys. You know, top guys from LA come up, Carl could beat them.
We'd go watch the speedway and he'd be racing it. You know, and then we're racing the motocross.
And then motocross on his Penton on Sunday and beat everybody in the 250 class on the 125.
He was kind of like the motocross star, kind of in enduro, you know. He was very flamboyant.
But he was a great mechanic too, so he made a perfect kind of an individual that you'd want to ride your motorcycle from a development standpoint.
KTM would find Carl indispensable in developing and tuning the KTM engines beyond what they thought was possible.
You know, I could make motorcycles real fast, and they figured out right away that they could use me for that.
He could tune a two-stroke, even above Ziggy.
He could do things to make these motors so fast.
He actually did some motor work to my bike. It was the fastest bike I ever rode.
Made 250s run as good as open bikes.
He wasn't afraid to try things. I think he blew up a lot of motorcycles.
What it really boils down to is having some intuition and being willing to experiment.
But it usually wasn't his.
Not too many people know about Carl Cranke, what his contribution was to the sport.
He didn't have the notoriety of Malcolm, but they're very similar in their styles.
Really knowledgeable engineering-wise, in theory, why a motorcycle works. And he could always make a bike work better than anybody else.
Cranke became a hero to the Austrians. If anybody played a big part in KTM, as far as tuning and mechanics, Carl Cranke did.